I went through about 4 years of transitioning from my life out west to my new life. It's not easy. It's just restructuring your mind to recognize that there is a bigger part of the pie that is just waiting to be experienced. When I was growing up, I loved sports. I grew up in a very active family. And I guess it was in high school when I was introduced to the world of mountain biking, and everything about it I just was so into and loved. I loved it. I was living in Rossland, and my one good buddy that I met, his name's Johnny, he was keen on entering a local film festival, and we'd been riding all summer long, and he'd bring his camera with him, and it was before GoPros came out, so he had this helmet that he taped his camera to. It had a brick on one side and the camera on the other, and it worked. We'd heard some riders talking about this trail just outside of Rossland, and we found the trail. We got to the point in the trail where the gap was, and Johnny was gonna go first, and I had the camera. I yelled rolling, and he went and he nailed it. We were so pumped after he nailed that there was no way I wasn't gonna give it a try. So I went up to the top of the platform, and when I took off, I left my life as I knew it. I'm not confined to my chair. I get out of it. I don't sleep in it. I'm not bound to this thing. I use my chair. I use my chair as a device to allow me to live my life. So I don't know if you guys have ever ridden a skateboard on the sidewalk. Feel every bump. Multiply that sidewalk crack by 100, and then you're dealing with a 4-inch step in some spots. I can't ollie this thing as much as I'd like to. So my frustration with inaccessible spaces came to a boiling point 4 years ago. Wherever I was, just running into stepped entryways. Freaking frustrating. My friend Michael, a coworker of mine, and I, we put our heads together and we thought, well, why don't we paint ramps really bright colors and just give them to business owners? And let's start a conversation about this issue.
Yours is out there all the time.
Yeah, every day. Like, it comes in every day, every night. Somebody that needs to get inside is like, well, I'm on it for sure. When did you start?
2011.
No.
It'll be close to 4.
So 4 years ago, we built 13 ramps for businesses in the Junction neighborhood, and it worked. Yeah, we painted them really bright colors. We stenciled the stopgap.ca logo on it. Every business owner that got a ramp, they loved it. The residents in the community absolutely loved it, and it created interest in the media where some journalists wrote some stories about the project. It was so effective that we had to move the initiative into different parts of the city. That was 4 years ago, and proud to say that it's become a national thing where we've got projects popping up right across the country.
CSI, I think, always aspires to be a leader, especially when it comes to putting people and the planet first. I mean, that's core to our mission. In this scenario, we very much understand that we are not at the leading edge of improvements, of upgrades on the accessibility front. One of the most recent challenges with that was with one of our members, Luke Anderson of the Stopgap Foundation, which is a great organization, wanting to host a fundraiser to really increase the impact and reach of his organization. We would have loved to have hosted him here at 720 Bathurst, but in light of the challenges of an accessible ground floor space, we weren't able to do that.
It's such a comfortable, welcoming space, and I would really have loved to have a fundraiser down there, but it just wasn't practical.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Okay. Hey guys.
Hey man.
How's it going? You think I could get a hand getting down to the ground floor?
Yeah, of course, man.
So the ground floor is about 4 feet below grade, and there's an indirect route that people who use wheelchairs need to take.
So we're gonna head up to the second floor, and then we're gonna head over across to the freight elevator, and that'll allow us to get to the ground floor. Here we go. Go. It's a little bit of a roundabout way, but we're hopeful that the renovations that we're doing here will alleviate this maze.
Nice. All right.
All aboard.
All aboard.
It's a love-hate relationship I have with this thing. It's a really damn cool elevator.
So our top priorities revolve around making that ground floor accessible. And so we have invested in new doors at the south entrance with push-button access. And we will be putting in a wheelchair lift at the ground floor landing there that will allow anyone using a wheelchair to access that space.
Here we are.
We made it. An independent process from A to B is a really empowering experience, and that's what we're really striving for here at Annex and with all of the buildings that we have here in the city, in Canada, and the world for that matter. We really want to work towards modifications to existing buildings that allow for independent access.
Stopgap, right?
That's right.
One of our core values at CSI is this idea that it's up to us. That in order to solve the challenges and the problems that we have in this world, that we need to work together at all levels, government, business, people. And we really can't do that in earnest if we have barriers that are inhibiting people from being a part of the solution. And that's why it was really exciting for us when we decided to rebuild our website, that we could start from a purely accessible perspective and ensure that whoever you are, you have a place with us.
CSI site has been really exciting because it's kind of been our launch pad for all of this accessibility work. You know, if you look at stats, there's 13.8% of Canadians consider themselves to be living with a disability. And I think it's important that we reframe that as this spectrum of ability, you know? So someone might not have motor function in their hands, so they might not be able to use a mouse. So maybe they have to be able to navigate a website using only a tab key. We're at a point where the web is so intertwined with our day-to-day life. You know, we date using the internet, we order our food, we hail a taxi, we buy and sell. Everything we do is on the web. And so if all of those amenities aren't available to, you know, this portion of people just because they're not like the person who's building this app, that's mean. You know, it's about being a good person. And I think, you know, what if we're not practicing what we say, if we say we want to be inclusive of everybody, but then we build things that can't work for a percentage of our users, our words mean nothing.
If we take on something different each day, you're all of a sudden exposing yourself to something new. And I think that way of life is really enriching. I was kind of thrust into a life-changing situation, and I'm sad that it happened because I really miss that old way of life, but it's allowed me to experience really amazing things. The problems that exist here in Toronto are mirrored in every community across Canada and around the world. I know for sure we can have similar successes in communities beyond our borders. So watch out for the guy in the green V-dub, delivering ramps to your neighborhood soon.